We begin in Florida, where Ghislaine Maxwell, accomplice of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, will be interviewed for a second straight day by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. And moments ago, President Trump took questions from reporters after he departed the White House for a trip to Scotland, and he addressed Maxwell's interviews and once again attempted to deflect.
Well, I don't know about the meeting. I know it's taking place, and he's a fantastic man. He's a great attorney, and people should really focus on how well the country's doing, or they should focus on the fact that Barack Hussein Obama led a coup, or they should focus on the fact that Larry Summers from Harvard, that Bill Clinton, who you know very well, and lots of other friends, really close friends of Jeffrey Summers, should be spoken about, because, you know, Jeffrey Epstein should be spoken about. And they should speak about them, because they don't talk about them, they talk about...
All right, CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand is joining us from the White House this morning. Natalie, what more did he have to say this morning on his way to Scotland?
Good morning, Vlad. Well, this was a lengthy Q&A session with reporters, so he answered questions on a number of topics, from the stalled ceasefire talks between Hamas and Israel to tariffs. Of course, there were a number of questions about Epstein as well. And as you heard the president, this week, he and the White House have really been focused on trying to change the subject and calling, you know, the reporting that's been out there by the Wall Street Journal and others fake news on this topic. Now, notably, he was asked if he thinks that Ghislaine Maxwell, should receive a pardon. He said he hasn't thought about that, and also indicated that he didn't know about the new reporting referencing the New York Times article, which notes or reports that Trump's name did appear on a list of potential contributors to that birthday album book in 2003 for Jeffrey Epstein, as initially reported by the Wall Street Journal. So again, what we heard today as the president prepares to head to Scotland is trying to talk about other things. You heard him say how well he says the country is doing, or again noting the Obama administration and what the White House is now saying about Russian interference in 2016, Vlad.
Let's talk about Vice President J.D. Vance, Natalie, who is slamming the Wall Street Journal over its recent report linking Trump to a letter written for Epstein's 50th birthday book, a very lewd and crude drawing. What are we learning about that?
Yeah, the vice president has been out there, again, kind of echoing the message of the president that this is fake news. And the vice president's main point, as laid out in a new social media post, is questioning why the Wall Street Journal did not show them the letter that, you know, they allege Trump wrote to Epstein that is suggestive. So he says, in part, in a lengthy post, I have no idea if the book exists. The Wall Street Journal won't show it to us. I have no idea if the letter exists. The Wall Street Journal won't show it to us. And, you know, he's accusing the Journal of trying to assassinate the president's character and saying, well, how can we refute it if we haven't seen it? We know, Vlad, as we've reported, the president, you know, is suing over this letter and says that, you know, again, this is fake news. He's blaming Democrats. But the big picture here is the calls for more information about the administration's handling of the Epstein files continues, with even, you know, allies and Republicans on Capitol Hill saying, you know, we still need more transparency here.
I want to talk about this exchange between President Trump and Fed Chair Jerome Powell yesterday. A lot of people saying, look, Donald Trump is not that scary. Here you have Jerome Powell, who is confident in what he is doing, his mission, his job, and the things that he's trying to accomplish. And if the president says something that doesn't seem accurate or is incorrect, there's no issue. He has no issue in front of the cameras questioning the president of the United States, even if the president probably tried to sort of ambush the Fed chair by sharing with him some details that he had received from some of his administration members.
What you just described, we saw play out in real time during this tour of the renovations over at the Federal Reserve's headquarters. Of course, the administration's been very focused on the cost. And yesterday, we saw the president and the Fed chair kind of squabble, disagree over the numbers. So let's watch that play out.
It looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed. You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago.
Now, notably, as the president departed, he was asked about that meeting, called it a good meeting, a productive meeting. And yesterday, he also seemed to try to de-escalate the situation, reiterating his message that he does not plan to fire Fed Chair Powell, but also still keeping on his pressure campaign in an effort to try to lower interest rates. Of course, the Fed is independent, but he says that they talked about interest rates at their meeting. And again, he's calling this now a good meeting with Powell. Vlad.
All right, Natalie, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I want to go back to that interview that happened today between the DOJ and Ghislaine Maxwell. CBS News Justice correspondent Scott MacFarlane is joining me now to talk more about that. So, Scott, what do we know about this meeting between the Deputy Attorney General and Ghislaine Maxwell? And what sort of answers are they looking for on this second day?
Some of this is a mystery because you're not going to get a readout from the Department of Justice as to what was talked about yesterday, what questions were asked, and what answers were given. And we don't expect that to change today. But we do know the parties in the room are uniquely interesting here, Vlad. Not only is it Maxwell, convicted in a horrific sex crime, but it's Todd Blanche, not a line prosecutor, not a Florida-based member of the Department of Justice, but the Deputy Attorney General and Donald Trump's former defense lawyer and close Trump ally is the one in the room. And the defense lawyer here is a man named David Marcus. We're going to hear from him in a moment, but it's worth noting he is familiar with Todd Blanche. They have a professional relationship. Here's how David Marcus described day one of the interview as he went in for day two in Tallahassee.
Open for another productive day. You know, Ghislaine has been treated unfairly for over 5 years now. If you looked up scapegoat in the dictionary, her face would be next to the dictionary definition of it. So, you know, we're grateful for this opportunity to finally be able to say what really happened, and that's what we're going to do yesterday and today.
So there's two different things going on here, Vlad. You have a legal issue and you have a political issue. Maxwell is pushing for leniency and has been for some time. She's said that there's more she could reveal about the case and didn't have an opportunity to during her criminal proceedings. There's that legal issue, but the political issue is stubborn here. The president is taking heat, including from some of his most ardent supporters, about not being transparent enough on the issue of Jeffrey Epstein or releasing Jeffrey Epstein files. We'll see if these two-day meetings have any impact on the politics.
All right, so what then came from yesterday's meeting, Scott?
Well, there's no transcript release, so it's hard to get a real sense of if there were any meritorious revelations. Ghislaine Maxwell's got a history of being untruthful with federal investigators, and that hasn't changed necessarily between then and now. But the bigger issue, I think, for so many critics of the administration is, has Ghislaine Maxwell set herself up for new leniency or even a pardon by participating in this interview with Donald Trump's Deputy Attorney General? The pardon system has changed dramatically over the first 6 months of this second term. There is no longer a civil servant pardon attorney doling out pardons based on a formula and restitution and remorse and acceptance of responsibility. Some of the pardons recently have gone to devoted Trump allies, political allies who've done none of those things. Has Ghislaine Maxwell set herself up? It's harder to read that now, Vlad, because the system is not what it used to be.
Indeed, it sure isn't, Scott. Thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate it.